Pro Tools has several record modes. We can access them by right-clicking on the record button. We have normal, loop, destructive, and quick punch. Pro Tools HD also has track punch and destructive punch, but we won't cover those here. If we choose one of the different record modes, the icon in the record button will actually change. We can also choose the record mode from the options menu. I'm going to keep this on non-destructive mode for what we're about to record. And what we're about to record is a nice bass line to accompany what we've got here. 2 acoustic guitars, and we've got a drum loop, as well as a click track. So I'm going to add a new track, one mono audio track. I'm going to name it, and make sure we have the proper input, which we don't, so I'll change that to analog 1, and record enable. And you know, before I do that, I'm going to actually add a plugin to this. Real-time plugin effect. I'll choose the Air Phaser, and this is a standard plugin that comes with Pro Tools. I'm going to choose the soft, long, mono phaser setting here. This is a preset from the preset menu. I'll close that up. Let's hear what this sounds like. Just a little bit of phasing on there, that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to hit the return to 0 button to make sure that playback starts right at the beginning of the session. And then I'll hit the record and play button. Alright, that was a pretty decent take. Maybe there's some spots that I might want to touch up in there, but I'm pretty happy with it. So let's say that I actually wanted to touch up the very beginning of that bass track. So I'm going to put the cursor using the selector tool right at the beginning of the track, and I'm going to activate some pre-roll. When it's lit up like that, it means pre-roll is active. I'm going to choose 2 bars pre-roll, lock that down by pressing enter. So that means that playback will start 2 bars back from where this cursor is. I'll record enable the track, and you'll note that we are in non-destructive record mode, that is normal non-destructive record mode. If I were to go into destructive record mode, I would actually record over top of this audio that I have here and erase what's under there. And I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep what's under there, but record on top of it a new piece of audio. So let's try that. Record, enable, and play. Alright, cool. So I like that take pretty good. I'll keep that. Another way to record is with loop record, and that's another mode that we can choose here. And I'm going to choose that by right-clicking the record mode, changing it to loop. Now I know that there's a little riff right in here that I might want to change. So I'm going to loop record over 1 bar in this little area. So what that's going to do when I loop record is it's going to make multiple recordings over top of this area. And these are non-destructive takes, so each of these takes will be recorded and show up in the regions list, and we'll also have a list that we can choose from and pull them up here that I'll show you after we record them. So loop record is great because it kind of gives you a comfort level or a flow when you record a bunch of loops in a row. So let's try this out. And you'll note that I have pre-roll active here, but it will only happen on the first time of the loop. And when it loops back around, it'll actually not have pre-roll. So let's try that out. Okay, I think I got it on the last take there, so it kind of got into the flow. It took me a few times to get there, but I got there, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now if I go down to this region on the track and I right-click it, you'll see this menu. I'll go down to Matches, and here are all the different takes that I just recorded. This bass 05 was the original region that I recorded, and these are all of the little loops that I just recorded. So I'm going to keep this last one that I had up there because I thought that was probably the best one. I'm afraid to listen to this, but we'll have a quick little listen. Actually, there's nothing that a little editing couldn't fix on that, so we'll just leave that and move on to Quick Punch. I'll go up and right-click this record button and switch over to Quick Punch. Punching means to drop a track into record while it's playing back. In Quick Punch mode, you can record enable a track, press play, and punch in when you want to fix part of it. So let's try that out. I'm going to put this into record mode, and we're in Quick Punch mode because we see the little P in the record button. So now if I press play and then start clicking the record button, Pro Tools will punch in every single time that I hit the record button. When I hit the record button again, it will punch out. And this is instantaneous. The instant you click on the record button, then Quick Punch will pop right in and punch in the track without any delay. So let's try this out. We're going to have a little pre-roll before we actually can start recording. Now, I wasn't actually playing along there. It's kind of hard to quick punch yourself while you're playing an instrument, unless, of course, you have a foot pedal connected to your 003 or other interface, which I don't have at the moment. But you get the point of being able to punch in, and you can do this up to 100 times during playing back of one track. Now, one thing you should note about Quick Punch is that Pro Tools actually begins recording a new audio file as soon as you start playing the track. It doesn't only record at the punch points, it records continuously, and it only shows you the punched in sections on the track. But that means that you can actually go back and edit the punch point if you miss the exact punch location. And I'll show you how to do that. If I go to the trimmer tool, I can take this punched region and drag it out, so I don't have to worry about missing a punch point. What I did there was I just clicked and dragged with the trimmer tool, and you'll see that there's all this audio that's underneath the track that we just recorded. One other note about Quick Punch: I wouldn't keep it on all the time as it records continuously, and that can eat up a lot of hard drive space. So I'll discuss additional punching techniques in another video in this course, but I recommend that you get to know the different recording modes. Aside from the destructive mode, normal, loop, and quick punch record modes all have their place in a recording session.